Hello, what's up YouTube photographer Ronnie Sweat, and in this tutorial I'm going to be showing you an easy way of how you can easily do skin retouching in the shortest time possible. And this is going to be focusing more on beauty skin retouching in Photoshop, and I'm using Photoshop 2020. And if at all this is what you have always wanted, I request that you hit the like button on this video, because it is going to help you to push and recommend this video to most people out there. And without further ado, let's get started. So in this video tutorial, we're going to be understanding the concept of frequency separation, and with one bonus tip at the end, how I color grade and spice up my final images after doing the final skin retouching. So stick around so that you don't miss up that bonus tip or trick that I tend to add to my portraits. So I'm just going to come to the background there, and what you have to understand about frequency separation: it is a skin retouching technique that is going to divide the image into two layers. So apart from the background layer, we're just going to come and make sure it is selected and simply press Ctrl J twice to create those two layers. And we're going to name this to low frequency, and we're going to name the upper layer to high frequency. So in the low frequency layer, usually we have our colors, and in the high frequency layer, we want to remain with the textures. So I'm just going to come to the low frequency layer and select it, and hide the high frequency layer. So with the low frequency layer selected, remember, only want to remain with the colors or the skin tones of the image, and this layer should contain no textures. So just come to filter right here, and we're going to come to blur and come down to Gaussian blur. So at this point, you have to determine the amount of skin textures that you want to remain with in the final image. Remember, as we're blurring out the details or the textures from the image, we only want to look at the colors and no textures. So you have to zoom in and look for an area that seems to have more or prominent skin textures than the rest of the skin. And with that point as a reference, simply left click and hold down and drag up the point when these prominent textures are starting to get lost. So when you start getting, or when those textures start getting lost, it means the overall skin textures are going to be lost. So just stop at that point. So you shouldn't cram my radius, because your image may be having different textures or details. So you have to look at the image in real time, or you have to look at the textures at hand, and don't cram my radius, because your photos may be taken using a different type of camera or a different sensor, and they may be having a varying level of sharpness or details. So I'm just going to come and simply click OK. And when you do this, you can notice that the image is going to turn out or look a little bit on the blurry side. You can see that it is only having colors and it is lacking textures or the details. So remember, we had turned off the high frequency layer. Simply come and select it, and now activate it by clicking on the eye icon. So after doing that, simply come to image right here and come down to apply image. So when you come to apply image, it's going to open up this apply image window, and usually is going to be right here. So you may be having a different kind of image right here. So I want to show you the settings that you have apply in your apply image dialog box. So for this is the name of the image, the source, and the layer from which we want to extract our textures. Come and select the low frequency layer. So if at all you're having 16 right here, it means your image is going to be a 16-bit image. So simply come to the channel and make sure it is RGB. So for a 16-bit image, come and make sure the blend mode is add, opacity at 100%, preserve transparency and mask are not checked, the scale is 2 and offset 0, and simply come and turn on the invert option, and you'll see the textures on the gray kind of layer. So if at all you're working with an 8-bit image, meaning you have 8 right here, the settings are going to be a little bit different. So just come right here and select the low frequency layer. The channel is RGB, and make sure the invert option is not turned on. The blend mode for an 8-bit image is going to be subtract. The scale is 2 and offset 128, and make sure the opacity is 100%, preserve transparency and mask are not checked, and simply click OK. So for my case, I'm using a 16-bit image, meaning I'll select the low frequency layer, the channel is RGB, and the blend mode is add. I'll turn on the invert option, the scale is 12 and offset of 0, and I'll simply click OK, and it's going to put the textures on the 50% gray kind of layer. But what we want to do, we want to bring back the image the way it was meant to be. So I just come to the blend mode and change it from normal and change it all the way to linear light, and I'll get back the image was the way it was meant to be. So I'll select both layers and press Ctrl Command G on the keyboard, put this in a group, and I'll double click to rename that to frequency separation. So you have to be organized. So you can see there's no difference between the original background and the separated image, meaning we have successfully done or separated the frequencies of the image into the high frequency layer, or the textures and the colors. So I'll click on the drop down icon right here, and I'll come to the low frequency layer and select it. So remember, when you're retouching the image, you want to first of all fine tune the colors and the textures independent of one another. So we are going to first of all fine tune the low frequency layer, which is the colors in the image, and later on fine tune the texture. So I'll select the low frequency layer, and in order to fine tune the colors, simply come and hide the high frequency so that you are not distracted by the textures in the image. So after doing that, just come the brushes, right click and get the mixer brush tool. Then if at all you're having an older version of Photoshop, you may find your mixer brush tool down here. So these are settings for a mixer brush tool, and I have full or complete mixer brush tool tutorials on this channel, and if at all you get lost, you can use that as a reference. So I just come and set it, make sure the hardness is 0%, and make sure clean brush is selected. Then select the second option, which says clean the brush after each and every stroke. Remember, I don't want to be carrying skin tone colors from one area to another, because that is going to be distorting the original shape of the model's face. The weight is 9%, the load of 75%, the mix at 90%, and the flow of 100%. So make sure sample all layers is not checked, because I only want to work with the colors in the low frequency layer, and I don't want to sample information from any other layer within the image. So I just want to work with the information in the low frequency layer. So this option is not checked. So in order to apply the mixer brush tool, always retouch at a distance and don't zoom all the way in, because when you zoom all the way in, it will not be easy for you to identify uneven skin tone transitions like you can see at a distance, and also it helps you retouch your images faster. And if at all your mixer brush tool is showing a plus icon, simply press the caps lock key, and that is going to deactivate or switch the brush back to its default. Then as you're retouching, make sure you play around with different sizes of the mixer brush tool by using the open and close brackets on the keyboard, and that is going to decrease or increase on the size of the mixer brush tool. So how to apply the mixer brush tool: you left click and hold down, and you mix colors that are looking alike, and you make sure that you don't drag color from one area to another, because when you drag color from one area to another, it means you're going to be spilling or changing the original facial tones, and it is going to distort the original shape of the model's face. So don't do that. So just mix colors that are looking alike, and where they are transitioning from one color to another, for example right here, just mix that area, and you have to move the strokes of the mixer brush tool in the direction or how that area is shaped, so that you can still maintain the original shape of the model's face. So I'm just going to keep on playing with different sizes of the mixer brush tool, and I'll be working on the image, and I'll see you later on so that you can see the progress for just using the mixer brush tool. So let me just forward this. Hello, and now you can see that the image looks a little bit it looks close to being plastic, but don't mind about that, because this is what we actually wanted to achieve when we turned off the texture layer, because we didn't want to have any kind of distraction. So you can see when it comes to the nose area, what I did, I simply moved the brush in this kind of direction, and that still maintained the original shape of the model's nose, and it didn't alter or do any changes to the nose. So after using the mixer brush tool, I'll just come and turn on the texture layer by clicking on the visibility icon right there, and I could show you the before and after for just using the mixer brush tool. We have still maintained the original facial details, and we have retained the skin texture within this very image. So next thing I'm going to do, I'm simply going to use our lasso tool technique to fine tune the areas we may have missed out as we're using the Mr. Brush tool. So I just come to the lasso tool right here, and with the low frequency layer still selected and the texture layer now turned on, simply come and make sure it is in new selection mode. The feathering is 22 pixels because I want the edges of the selection to be as smooth as possible. So if at all you don't want those annoying lines from your selections, make sure the feathering is 20 and above. So just come, make a selection while following the face of a model, just like that, and come back to filter and come to blend. I'm just going to come back to Gaussian blur right here. So what I'm going to do, this is the radius that we had when we are separating the frequencies of the image. Simply take the radius up. Remember we started from 7. Just drag it up to the point when you feel like you're getting a better skin texture for your image. So around 21, that is when I have a nice skin texture for this very model. Alternatively, a trick that I have to share with you about this, always multiply the radius you had for your frequency separation initially before. So that is going to always pop up. So just multiply that radius by 3 and type in that value so that you can have a very nice skin texture. So 7 by 3 is 21. I'll just type in 21 and you can see the texture looks a little bit more on the natural side and is highly better and realistic. So just come and click OK, and I'll be applying this onto the rest of the image. So just keep on drawing those shapes and following the way the face is shaped. So how to apply or to deselect, just click away from the selection and it's going to automatically deselect because we are in new selection mode. So as soon as you start making a new selection, the previous one is going to automatically get deselected. So that is how to use this technique. And when it comes to the nose area, only just apply it on the sides, just like that. Right click and come to Gaussian blur right here. And I'm just going to also come this other side of the nose and also apply it right on this side of the nose. So usually I wouldn't recommend you to apply it to the brightest area or the highlight of the nose because that is going to make the nose look flat and look big at the end of it. Also, I'm just going to apply it on this other side. So this looks okay. So now we are done fine tuning the face. So next thing is going to be removing the blemishes. Remember, I sometimes tend to first of all use the Mr. Brush tool to flatten or smoothen the blemishes so that when it comes to cleaning up the blemishes, I have less work to do. So I'll just come to the high frequency layer because this is containing textures and textures are part of blemishes. So I'll just come and select the high frequency layer and get my clone stamp tool, and you can use S as a shortcut. The blend mode is normal, opacity and the flat 100%, align is selected, and the sample is sent to current layer. And for the settings for my brush, I'll be using a hardness of 0%. So I'll just zoom in by using Ctrl or Command plus on the keyboard to zoom in, and reduce on the size of the clone stamp tool. You can use the open and close brackets on the keyboard. So how to use the clone stamp tool? With the high frequency layer still selected, you can simply hold down the alternate or option key on the keyboard and left click to copy from a clean skin that is close to the blemish. So you hold down the alternate key on the keyboard and left click to copy a clean skin that is next to the blemish, and simply release the alternate key on the keyboard and simply left click over the blemish, and that is going to replace that blemish. So you always have to copy skin from an area that is close to the blemish. So I'm just going to be forwarding this, and I'll see you later on so that we can share the final color grading bonus trick that I promised you at the start of this tutorial. Hello, and now you can see I'm done cleaning up or removing the blemishes or skin imperfections from this model's face, and next thing is going to be the final fine tuning or color grading of this very image. So I'll simply come to these layers and close the group and simply press Shift alternate Command E on the keyboard. So if at all you're using Mac, you can simply use Shift Option Command E on the keyboard. Then if at all you're using Windows, you can use Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard, create a stamp visible layer. And what we want to do, we're just going to come to filter, and we're going to come to the camera filter. And after doing this, we're just going to come to the color mixer tool within the camera raw filter. So just going to come to the camera raw filter and simply do the final color grading. So what I do, I just come to the color mixer right here, and I simply come to the luminance. Remember, luminance is the darkness or lightness of a given color. So I'll simply darken the orange color just like that, and I'm just going to come and simply hit OK to open the image back to Photoshop. So that has added contrast to my skin tone, and next thing is going to be simply coming to the hue and saturation adjustment layer right here, and I'll just come to the master and simply select reds, and I'm just going to take down the lightness just like that, and this is going to make the skin look better and look very nicely even. And I'll just come back and create one more black and white adjustment layer right here, and I'll simply change the blend mode from normal to multiply, and simply drop down or reduce the opacity to around 8 is okay. And I'll just come back and create another stamp visible layer by simply pressing Shift Option Command E on the keyboard, or if at all you're using Windows, you can use Shift Alternate Control E on the keyboard. So I'll just come right there and come and create the curves adjustment layer. So I feel like I want to enhance the shine of the model's face. So I just come and take the brightness just like that until the highlights look a little bit more pronounced. So I just want to add glow or shine to the model's face, and I'll just close this. So I'll just double click to come the blend if tool or the layer style dialog box, and make sure blend if is set to gray, and I'll just come to the underlying layer, and I just want to take the effect from the shadow areas of the image. So I just click and drag this until when I feel like the shine or the highlights are really pronounced within the image. So this looks okay, but it looks awkward and the transition is really harsh. So I'll hold down the Option key on the keyboard or the alternate key on the keyboard, and I'll simply split this. So I'll just split them up to when I feel like the transition looks better or looks at least smooth. So this looks okay, and I just come and simply press OK right there. So this is the before for just that. So basically you have added glow or shine by dodging and burning the image. So I'll just do a little bit of eye whitening to the model's eyes by coming and creating a hue and saturation adjustment layer, and I'll simply drop down the saturation of the master all the way to around negative 76, and I'll simply invert this effect by pressing Ctrl or Command I and get the brush tool right here and getting it, and it has to be a soft round brush with hardness of 0%. Make sure you have black and white by clicking on these two small boxes. So make sure white is on top. You can switch by using X on the keyboard, and now you can zoom in by using Ctrl Command plus on the keyboard, and with the brush tool selected, you can simply come and paint on the white area of the eye to do your eye whitening. So this is how I do the eye whitening for portraits within Photoshop after doing the skin retouching. So just whiten, paint on only what you feel should be white within the eyes, and this is it. And now we are done doing the skin retouching and color grading. So this is the image before after, and later on you can now export the image and save it by simply coming to File, Export, and coming to Export As. So when you come to Export As, it's going to open up the Export As window. So basically what we have to do, we are simply going to come and export the photo. So the image is going to load in this window, and make sure you export the image usually as a JPEG and the quality of 100%. Make sure the resample is set to by cubic sharper, and make sure you embed the color profile and also convert it to sRGB, because this is going to be supporting most printers and most social media, and your images won't be changing color when you post or print them out. And after the image is done loading in the preview, you can simply click export and save the image in whatever location that you want to save them. So this is it for this tutorial. And if at all you have loved this, don't forget to like this video and don't forget to subscribe this channel. If at all you have been watching and you're not subscribed yet to this channel, Ronix from Ronix Photography, thank you for watching and see you in more amazing tutorials. And don't forget to keep practicing and also keep creating.